Let us take a deep dive into battleships. You know, those ships loaded with guns, born to blast other vessels off the sea. These floating fortresses were not just symbols of, they were also embodiments of national power and the projection of influence. For example, when you are the biggest, you will sail those cool dreadnoughts and treat unarmed Asians and Africans like, we wiped them all out. Splendid. Let us go have some tea. But before talking about dreadnoughts and colonialism, let us rewind first. The story goes back to sailing ships before steam engines and turrets appeared. From the 16th century to the 19th century, the rulers of the seas were not, but the wind. Experienced sailors could. Mastering the wind was certainly not easy. Otherwise, there was nothing they could do. Naval battles back then were more like a civilized, huge fleets lined up in meet, firing orderly broadsides at each other, hoping to defeat the enemy, while the opponent was doing the same. Until one day, a British captain aboard HMS Victory simply chose to sail straight into the French and Spanish formation. This was the Battle of Trafalgar. And the result? The British fleet sank the enemy, while losing only one of its own, which also taught the French and Spanish sailors how to make the enemy surrender. In 1862, the United States advanced naval warfare. Wooden warships were completely outclassed. 41, 111 armor, ironclads became incredibly powerful. As the Civil War raged on land, combat at sea also entered a whole new. The Confederacy launched an ironclad, fully armored, and apparently fully sealed too. While the soldiers inside were basically in a sauna, the Union, meanwhile, brought out, although small, it was equipped with all-around, capable of 360-degree. Now cue the battle music, and get ready for two ironclad beasts. This scene, we are truly sorry, but not the kind of sorry that comes with a refund. Let us just say, your wallets are about to pass out. But this really is not our fault. Back then, armor-piercing. Fast forward to 1906. The British delivered something that shocked the whole world, the battleship Dreadnought. The name may not sound especially, but its significance was immense. This was the age of turbines, the beginning of big gun armament and insanely thick armor. Forget those steam-powered. This was the era of steam turbines. Uniform heavy firepower. Armor so thick it was absurd. Every year, they added more, like gaining a few more inches of fat every year. Does that sound familiar? Just like you lot who keep binging and get fatter the more you watch. Alright, that was a bit of a tangent. Let us get back to the arms race. Britain's Dreadnought made Germany, France, Russia, Japan, Italy, Austria-Hungary. Even the United States looked like a joke. So they all started building their own versions of dreadnoughts. A few years later, the first batch of super dreadnoughts appeared, and the most visually striking among them was Japan's Fuso class. Its iconic pagoda-style bridge towered high up. It practically looked like it stretched into the stratosphere. Maybe the Japanese made their bridges taller because they were relatively short and needed a bit of compensation. By compensation here, we mean height. This time we do not want to keep repeating that old worn-out joke that Japanese people are lacking in size there. Alright. During the First World War, the British and German navies finally faced off at the Battle of Jutland. The battle was enormous in scale, and thunderous in momentum, yet utterly chaotic. And nobody really won. We know, that sounds super boring. But Britain had far more ships than Germany, so they brushed the dust off themselves and said it is fine, we are still the rulers of the seas. After the First World War, Battleships were like they had rushed to the gym, fitted with more powerful engines, bigger guns, and thicker armor, getting ready for round 2. To avoid that second round, the Washington Naval Treaty tried to limit tonnage, displacement, and gun caliber. The goal was to prevent another World War I style arms race that would wreck the economy. In theory, this was a great idea, but in practice, some countries treated the rules like suggestions. Some exploited design loopholes, and some simply said no. And the result? The treaties failed to stop the arms race, but they did produce a bunch of very weird warships. Take Nazi Germany, for example. They came up with the so-called pocket battleship. Just the phrase Nazi pocket battleship, when you put those words together. What is that, a Swiss Army knife? Nazi pocket battleship? You've got to be kidding me. Even more absurd. They even slapped a Nazi emblem on the stern, like tattooing an evil symbol on a battleship butt. And then, the global arms race finally escalated into the Second World War. Everyone was staring at those latest models, thinking they could dominate the seas. But it did not take long for the facts to show that the rules of the game had changed. Submarines had been lurking since World War I, but the real ultimate killer emerged from the skies, especially carrier-based aircraft. Pearl Harbor was exactly that. Air superiority was the opening move of naval warfare. Under air attack, the British Prince of Wales became a victim. The German Biss. The Japanese Yamato. Do not bother. The name Yamato simply does not. Tomato. Ice cream. Forget it. The bad joke has completely fallen apart. So let us get back. Throughout the entire Second World War, aircraft carriers changed everything. Naval battles no longer required fleets to fight at close ranges before. It became hundreds of kilometers apart. The largest battleship showdown in history was still waiting just ahead. And that was the biggest Battle of Leyte Gulf. American and Japanese battleships in Surrey. In the poetic sounding, America's 4 veterans, some of them had been at Pearl Harbor, and later returned after repairs. At this moment they joined forces to complete the classic, wiping out the Japanese in one stroke. Just like a battleship's. Perhaps that represented a kind of perfect. If that was really the case, the Battle of Leyte Gulf was not only unprecedented in scale, it was even more the battle. It was also the last time battleships took center stage in war. Did I say? Actually not. The truly historic moment came in September 1945. The Americans and the Japanese. But this time it was not. Right here, that Japan signed the unconditional surrender. And, just imagine, what could be more fitting than on the mighty Missouri? To witness such a world renowned. It could not be more appropriately named.